Hello and welcome back to another EDH Deck Tech video. Today I'm going to be showing my Kothophed Soul Hoarder deck. Kothophed here, he's really not a very commonly seen commander. He's just from one of those like sort of generic legendaries that came out from the Origin set, and he has something to do with Liliana. But he's got this super high risk, high reward effect, and the problem, of course, is he's 6 mana. 6 mana for 6/6 flying demon. I have a slight passion for 6 mana, 6/6 commanders. But he has this fun effect where whenever a permanent owned by an opponent, essentially another player, not myself, is put into a graveyard, I draw a card and they lose life. Commanders that die or something that is exiled does not trigger his ability, but that draw effect is actually pretty good. It is a little scary, of course, because people can control your death if they are playing some kind of aristocrats build or if someone decides to blow up all the lands. But in short, a removal spell cantrips with him. I just really like this card. It's not good, personal opinion. You may love it, he may be powerful in your group, but in my group it's very bad. I just have a personal love of this specific card. I really like what this card is trying to do. More so, I actually have a preference for this artwork of the card. There's a pre-con set that came out, one of each monocolored. You can barely see it because it's super dark here, but this is very good artwork. You may also be familiar with the artwork of Kothophed as he appears on the Demonic Tutor artwork. Not the Judge one, not the original one, but the Liliana dual deck one. Kothophed is one of the 4 demons that granted Liliana some of her power. And he's already dead. But we're going to go through this deck real quick. Now, mono black decks in EDH, they all tend, well not all, most of them have a tendency to be built very similarly to the same thing, where they generate a bunch of mana and then they win with the next spell, like Exsanguinate, or the new one being Torment of Hailfire. This deck is no different. This is the win cons of the deck, these 2 spells. That's not all what all mono black decks do in EDH. That is just a very common path to victory. If you are familiar with that, then you probably already know 90% of the cards in this deck. There's a few tricks specifically that work well with Kothophed, but the goal of this deck is to generate an absurd amount of mana and then bleed everyone out. So let's go through the deck real quick. We'll stick Kothophed, the Kothophi, up there. And let's start with the creatures, the generic good stuff. So our general, if he's in play, anything that dies cantrips. So global edict effects like a Fleshbag Marauder is good. We have all 3 in here. We have the original one, the new one that's literally the same reprint, and then 1 more mana for a slightly bigger body that does the same thing. We have Erebos in here. He's just a generically good mono black card. You'll kind of hear that a lot in this video because this is a very generic deck. But it's kind of like a little bit more expensive greed with the anti-life gain effect. We have a Coffin Queen, which is another generically fun card. She is, of course, a different language. She has this effect where I can pay 2 and a black and tap her to reanimate a creature for as long as she remains tapped. I don't have to untap her, and the creature may be exiled if she is untapped. I believe that's the correct effect. Gray Merchant here. He is very good. There's a good chance of having a high devotion in this deck. He's a very good thing to reanimate a few times. He could be a win condition himself in very late games. Of course, if your opponents tend to play Rite of Replication, you want to be careful with putting him in play. We have the 2 mana guys. So these big X spells, the way the deck wins, we need a high volume of swamps to make Cabal Coffers a more functional card. So these guys go get swamps and put them into play. Also a pretty good thing to reanimate. And if we're not using a mass land ramp via swamps, we will just use mana doublers. We have a Crypt Ghast and a Narcana Revenant here. There's, of course, more mana doublers in the deck, but these are the creature-based ones we use. We have a few high-end creatures, some that are just generically good. I'm going to keep saying that because that's what the deck is. It's not competitive, it's not bad, it's just average. For example, Sepulchral Primordial is fantastic at creating a board presence out of nowhere. After a board wipe, if this is the creature you cast, you're going to get a lot of enter the battlefield value from whatever your opponents have. Then we have the Lord of the Void. Again, this is one single card that can generate a board presence because you are exiling cards off the opponent's deck. When he connects to the opponent, you exile the top 7 off their deck, and you can get a free creature from them. You put one of those creatures into play. Then we have the Runescarred Demon, another demon here, just generic tutor. And we have a Kokosho with a fun new artwork. And a Shouldered, again just some generic high-end black creatures that can muck up the game or turn the tide to your favor. Now there's also a massive complement of spells here. We have Without Weakness. It was a placeholder, but I'm actually very fond of this card. There's a few mono black spell trick cards that can give something indestructible or not flickers, but it gives it undying. This is a 6 mana commander with no built-in protection, and people see this draw effect. That's kind of scary. So what I've actually ended up doing, I've been playing with a few of these. This is the only one in the deck currently. A way of giving Kothophed indestructible. So if someone's going to board wipe, I will save him and draw a lot of cards. This one is the one I'm keeping because I can cycle it away in early game if it's not necessary. Smallpox is also very good with Kothophed. So yes, Smallpox hurts us. We lose a land, we discard a card, we sack a dude. Most likely going to be Kothophed. But if there are 3 opponents and all 3 opponents are doing the same thing and he's in play, I will draw 6 cards on top of that. And that's 2 mana to draw 6 cards is a very powerful effect. Without Kothophed, although it's maybe something we hold on to. Of course, we have the good stuff, Black Draw, and Sign in Blood, Night's Whisper, and Read the Bones. We have Moonlight Bargain for the instant speed draw. We like to fill our graveyard sometimes. We have a few tutors and Demonic Vampiric. Again, this is actually Kothophed in the artwork, if we can see it clearly there. And we have Dark Petition with Grizzlebrand, another of the 4. There's a Razaketh, actually. There's another demon that is thematically on par here that could be in the deck, and he himself has his own tutor. I'm hoping when the 4th demon is finally released, the one that starts with a B, they also give him a tutor too. So all the demons that gave Liliana some power have their own tutor. Hatred is a random win more. Sometimes this just gets people. I mean, a 6 mana flyer, or 6/6 flyer is a pretty big thing. But if we pay 15 life, this could just kill someone because they don't block it. Again, Hatred is a fun card to play with. This is very good if your commander has lifelink, like Atraxa. This on Atraxa is usually just a kill one opponent card because you immediately gain the life back. This deck is a little dangerous. We do lose a lot of our life in this deck, and the only way we have to regain it is with the Whip of Erebos, or one of our Exandrinate spells. But this is just classically a fun card. You can actually pump another opponent's creatures. Like if they're swinging with their small little commander, and their commander is going to get through, you can use this spell to kill whoever they're swinging at. We have Doomblade and Tear, a lot of removal spells. These are good one-shot removal spells, because with Kothophed out, they become cantrip, they replace themselves. Dismember is good too. I probably should get another Snuff Out, which could be a free removal spell. Then we have the wipes. Toxic Deluge is really good with Kothophed. Yes, we are losing a lot of life, but we can control the Wrath effect, like we may not actually be killing Kothophed. Damnation will kill him, but he will still see everything else die. And we have Hellfire, which again, this really hurts. It's very thematic. The reason I'm having a lot of demons in this deck is I'm actually in the process of creating a tribal demon list, and I'm still collecting the cards for it. But this one, while it will hurt us a lot, we can board wipe non-black creatures and keep Kothophed and draw a lot of cards. Deadly Tempest is very good against token-based decks. This is a 6 mana board wipe that I actually recommend to most average play groups, because simply, yes, 6 mana board wipe is expensive, but this life loss can actually kill people. I've had many friends playing many token-based decks where this has been the winning card. It's kind of like playing Price of Progress. Sometimes it kills people. Then we have Decree of Pain for more card draw. Necromantic for a reanimation. This is great because we can let Kothophed go to the graveyard and then exile the spell to reanimate Kothophed. We have a few reanimation effects. Again, I like to fill my graveyard sometimes, and Living Death is great. Grim Return is another pet card. It's an instant speed reanimation of something that's died this turn. For example, if we flush bag out everyone's stuff, we can reanimate one of their things. Or if someone board wipes, we can then allow a creature to be reanimated at instant speed. Dread Return is a generic reanimation spell. We're not likely to have enough to flash it back, but we have Rise of the Dark Realms as another mono black typical win condition card. Let's go on through the non-artifact non-land permanents real quick. There's just a few enchantments here. We have Phyrexian Arena. It's a good card, just slow draw, slow life loss. We have a singleton reanimation via necromancy. We have a Whip of Erebos to give us some lifelink. This and the Exandrinate are our only forms of lifelink in the deck. We probably might need to get like a Warhammer, a Loxodon Warhammer for this deck. The problem is, again, we don't always have a creature up to attack with. Now, we also have a Grave Betrayal. This deck likes to kill things. It loves killing creatures. And while this is a very expensive enchantment to get into play, if it is not dealt with, it gives us a lot of really good value. Essentially, we are not only just using our commander to cantrip our removal spells, but we are then getting the opponent's creatures too, and they're slightly bigger. And there's a nice complement of artifacts here. There's this whole stack, which has to do with mana, and then we have 4 equipment. So let's go through the equipment first. There probably should be a lightning greaves in here. The reason they are not right now is I don't have enough to go around. Also, it does kind of stop hatred. That is a bit of a non-go. You don't want to unequip your lightning greaves, then hatred your commander, then dick around with the lightning greaves a little bit. But the boots are pretty good. Sword of the Animist is what mono black decks love to do, is getting more swamps into play. Then we have 2 Swamps Matter equipment. One we can pay life here, or mana and life here to make them bigger. This can make something small like a Fleshbag Marauder a very large creature. One of my favorite things to do if this deck had it would be to put this on like an Ink Moth Nexus, because then your lands themselves become very threatening. And let's keep on going here. And we also have, again, all these have to do with actually just creating mana or getting mana. The Expedition map is here because mono black decks love Cabal Coffers. And this will go get us Cabal Coffers or an Urborg if we don't have that already. Or even something like a Deserted Temple, or if I had a Vesuva, this would be good because we can start copying Cabal Coffers. Then we have just the mana rocks itself. These are here mainly because we have a 6 mana commander that is a somewhat draw machine, so we want to ramp him out as fast as possible. So we have Bobble again to get more swamps, the stone, a lot of 2-drops here, a 3-drop that doesn't tend to go away. The Power Stone is very good because that can help us get him out on the following turn if we have consecutive land drops. Thrown Dynamo will help us get it out no matter what. The Gilded Lotus and a Dreamstone Hedron. We have 2 mana doublers here to go with the creatures, the Narcana Revenant and the Bloodghast. Not Bloodghast, wow. Whatever the other Cryptghast is. Gauntlet and Cage Sun. Now, we do play an Urborg, and that means that the basic swamps that our opponents have may also double up. And let's finish with the lands. Again, I usually have 37 lands in my average casual decks, and we have the obvious ones for mono black. We have an Urborg to work with Cabal Coffers. This makes the non-basic lands I have all swamps, which then add up for Cabal Coffers. We have Deserted Temple to help untap the coffers, essentially giving us a -1 mana the coffers provides to then double up the coffers ability. Still pay 2 to activate though. And then we have Mirrored Landscape to get more swamps, and a Nykthos because again we do have a tendency to have a high devotion in this deck. We don't have anything like a Necropotence or something ridiculous like that, but this is still good. And the swamps I have chosen for this deck are actually pretty unique. These are from the Arch Enemy precon. And this artwork did not get spoiled in the Amonkhet set, but they have a before and after of every basic land type, and they have the before and after of the swamps. I thought this was gorgeous, and I'm sad that this did not get any full art justice like the other cards in that main set did, but these actually look very good in person, and I would actually recommend checking out the rest of the lands from this Arch Enemy precon, the Nicobolas versus Blah, because they all look very good. But yeah, this is my Kothophed deck. Kothophed again there's a lot better commanders for whatever your deck's main goal is. I just have a slight passion for this specific demon. And again, I'm actually looking to build a tribal demon deck soon. I have a Rakdos Exava deck, or an Exava Voltron deck that is the Rakdos color, and I'm thinking about switching over to Rakdos himself, the new Rakdos, not the Defiler. And I'll use him as a mana cheat for some of these fun demons. Again, that is a very casual and funsy idea, and that's kind of where cards like this lie. But yeah, if you have any interest in Kothophed or feedback or ideas, definitely let me know. Cheers.